I had a
Oh,
question for you. It's from like I would love to hear the perspective from another mangaka. What do you think is like one of the most difficult parts about being a mangaka? Like, is it writing the story? Is it kind of like the making your own pace? Like, what would you think is the biggest challenge?
I think the biggest challenge, I would say it's making the story like consistent. What do I mean by that? I mean like you have like an idea in mind, you have like a bunch of characters, but like writing each character's storyline, but not putting contradictory information, if that
Mm,
makes sense.
yeah.
Right. Like saying like I'll give you an example. Like let's say like I don't know, like you say like this character is like this character is like one of the strongest characters. This character defeated this character, and this character lived during this era, and this character was friends with this character. But then the second character, like you write like a situation that happened before the first character was born. It's like that doesn't make sense,
So
right?
like continuity essentially.
I would say that's pretty hard. Obviously, like learning and like improving as an artist, that's naturally that would be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Um, of course, the promotion, getting people to care about it, that's very hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know that like even when it comes to like writers nowadays, like because I like tap into like the writing space because learning from writers, but a lot of them are saying that even nowadays, like the days of just writing a good story and sending it to a publisher, those don't exist anymore. Like right, like most publishers won't even look at you unless you have some connection in the industry or you already have a fan base for your work. Right,
Oh, okay.
it's just significantly harder to just get the word out there, and just get people to like give it a chance, care about it,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
like that.
There's been like so much more mainstream and a lot more popularized that like it's easier, I guess, for a lot more people to have access to create their stories and to put them online. Like it's
Right.
to a certain degree maybe oversaturated too.
hmm hmm
Yeah, that's interesting.
There's too many, like there's like so many works for them to like to filter through to know which one is like the good ones, right? It's kind of like music, right? Like
Yeah.
a record label is not going to sign you unless you already have like hundreds of thousands of listeners on SoundCloud, right? Like they're not gonna you can't just make a good song, send it to them, and like okay, you're signed. Like it doesn't work like that anymore.
Yeah, I know nowadays like the doors are open for anyone to kind of try it. So you have a lot more competition at the end of the day.
Right.
Gotcha. What would you say like what part do you enjoy the most of being a manga?
What part do I enjoy the most? I would say like definitely like so when I make a story and I make a character, just like getting like random bits of inspiration that just make like a character who like maybe I didn't have that much planned for, just make them a little bit deeper and a little bit more complex. And then when you have and just like and having that fit perfectly into the story, right? So you have a character, you think of a really cool idea for the character, you put it in, you have another idea that connects this character to that character that fits perfectly into the storyline. You add that in, and you just keep doing that over and over and over. Now all of a sudden, like a world that wasn't really that deep, all of a sudden has like 10 new layers and 10 new layers of complication that just make it even better, right? And I feel like a lot of writers, especially like I know Oda, for example, says has mentioned something along the lines of that he's more of a discovery writer, right? That like he lets the characters sort of like narrate their own journey, make their own decisions, things like that. So I think that, like Oda does something similar to that, where like he gets these ideas, he like expands the world, makes characters more complex. An example of that would be like Kuma, for example. Like
Hold on,
I'm
hold
looking
on, hold on,
for
hold on, hold
Hold
on,
on
hold
one
on,
second,
hold
because
on.
they're not manga people, so I don't know if you are. I don't. I want to make sure that there's no like manga spoilers.
spoil, but I'll say like Kuma and more complex, but
Okay, okay.
Yeah, sorry. I just that's a super huge, and I don't know if we ever mentioned that they were anime only. I'm the only manga person here, and it's
okay.
hard. Sorry.
Right. Yeah, so like something like that, right? Like, but like originally, I'm sure he didn't have that planned out, but he got that idea and figured out how he can like fit that into the story, and
Right.
then he was like, okay, I just figured this extra layer of complication, right? I feel like when I have that for my characters, that's a very rewarding part of writing.
Yeah, and I think that goes to show that like he's very in tune with his own story because he obviously has like maybe points that he wants to get to in the story, but I think he fundamentally understands the characters that he's created in this world, that he kind of
Right.
can put himself in their shoes and be like, well, I might want to do this, and he's even come out and said like I don't know where Luffy's gonna want to go after this, like he's kind of in charge of the story, and I think that's really cool because it makes it feel very authentic. It doesn't feel like it was just a random thing that was shoehorned in by the creator. It was like, no, this is like the natural evolution of the plot based off of the characters and the decisions they would make in that situation.
Right. And I think that's like an incredibly important part of just being a writer is understanding your characters and making them like understanding your characters to the extent that like the characters write their own story instead of you trying to like force a story that you want onto your characters. I guess it's weird to say that if you're not like like a writer, but like a writer would understand what I mean by that, right? Like there's a difference between me making my characters do things and my characters doing the things I want them to do.
Yes, yeah, I think that's a really good distinction.
Okay.
Right.
Now I got a quick question, because like this is like, I guess it's not something you gotta ask somebody every day. Like as somebody who's put out their own manga, is there other manga out there you see coming out that you recommend?
Yeah, definitely. I think like I have a lot of like mutuals on TikTok particularly that have like a lot of good works. I think like right off the bat, something that comes to mind would be like Hustle by Ty Davis. Like his manga is really good. I actually have a copy right here. He has two actually already. He has this one and this one. Right.
Oh,
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And he's already
I
worked.
like the art style.
And these are pretty thick books. It's not like
I was noticing that.
so
and you said his name was Kyle Davis?
Ty Davis, yeah, Ty Davis, Tyler.
Ty Davis.
Yeah, and it's like basically about a kid lives in like, so it's based in America, kind of like how like Japanese stories are based in Japan. It's based in America, right? It's based in Memphis, and it's basically about a kid who just gets like wrapped up in like the world of like narcotics and drug dealing, similar to like if you've seen the show Power. It's like somewhat similar to that.
Okay.
It's like about like a high school kid. It's about a high school kid named Tyson Jr. And basically he's just like a kid who's struggling to get scholarships and just dealing with high school like problems. But then he gets involved in like a conflict between two rival gangs, and that sort of like, and because he's seen the faces and like the identity of two of the characters, it's like Power mixed with My Hero Academia. They have magical powers, by the way.
Oh,
and then like
love it.
right. So then now he's kind of like forced to like get involved, but he's trying to also hide it from his friends and family, so they don't know that he's involved in this. But he's trying to like save his own skin from these like incredibly dangerous people. So it's like it's a very complicated story, but it's super cool and super interesting, and it's just inspirational to see someone else also like writing and grinding on something that like on the same kind of thing that I'm doing.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check them out.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm writing them down.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any other ones?
Let's see. Any others? Well, I mean, there's a lot. Like there's like this other one I have. It's called Storybook. I haven't read it yet, but I read like the beginning part, and the general premise is about like it seems like a post-apocalyptic world
Already sold.
where like where
sold.
where there's like this like villain called like One, and basically like there's like a like the last remaining members of humanity are sort of like hiding out in this like in like one small section of the world, and they were like this like task force is sent to like stop this like villain. But after realizing how strong he was, like they basically recalled the task force, but because some of the friends of the people on the task force are in danger, they like refuse to come back. And now it's just kind of like a thing where it's just like them kind of like venturing out into like this like super dangerous world with like this like super powerful villain on the loose, and like the stakes regarding that. There's this other one called Satsume Story by Comics Endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's basically about a guy who is like it's like a kind of like a medieval type of story, like a guy who is in like a he's like a commoner, so he lives in like a village, but then he gets an opportunity where he can like sneak into like a ball for nobles, and he poses as like a noble. But then when he gets there, shit goes hits the fan. This like one like a rebel just kind of like shows up and starts like messing shit up, and then he like dies. But like right before he dies, he has like an opportunity, kind of like solo leveling to like kind of like revive with like special.
Okay.
So it's like kind of like an issue with him trying to like basically figure out what caused him to get these abilities, figure out who like this rebel is, and just kind of like navigating the world. There are so many like different stories and so many people who are writing and creating. Like I wish I could like off top come up with like a bunch more. Like there are Biome, there's one called Golden Mist. There's so many good ones. And it's just for me, like I really just like the fact that there are other people who are also in this like field, who are also like grinding, and just seeing other people like succeed motivates me to work even harder.
Yeah, it's nice to see that y'all have a very strong knit community and that y'all support each other's projects too. I think that's one of my favorite things that I've been noticing recently. Like obviously it's not easy creating your own story and competing with like big name stuff, but the fact that y'all have your own community and y'all are succeeding is really cool to see, and I think it's inspiring a lot more people who have these stories that they want to tell to take
Right.
that leap of faith and like try, like you said, and let go of that fear of like maybe I won't be successful, maybe nobody will like see it, but at least they get to try, and you never know. I think that's awesome.